a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, BRimes.
And welcome to the show. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We had an uptick in calls last week. Greatly appreciate everybody that supports the show by supporting our consumer advocacy hotline and calling the hotline, texting the hotline, 727-263-3707. Any comments, questions, concerns, or connections that you'd like to be made, all you have to do is shoot a call or a text over, and we'll put you in touch with whoever you're listening to on the radio that day that happens to pique an interest. 727-263-3707. 80 different categories of consumer advocacy content and advice here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So we greatly appreciate that for supporting the program here on today's show. We've got Derek Kobel in the house, Right Way Public Adjusting, rightwaypa.com, in studio with us. We're going to talk about storm damage and what is the role of a PA? How does that work, and how does it work in conjunction with your insurance broker? So we'll talk a little bit about that relationship. Also, Jennie Restrepo as well, Insured Title Agency. She's a wealth of knowledge for all things real estate, especially on the closing side and, of course, the title side. And we've had a ongoing series with her about true crime, things that these perpetrators are trying to steal titles. Home title theft is a big issue. We're going to talk about that as well. And we have a feel-good story of the day here as well. This is an interesting story. A beekeeper finds grandfather's long-lost hives thriving in a quarry. We'll find out more about that here on the show. But first, we want to invite you to our next gratitude party, Friday, September 27th, 6 o'clock, over at the Tarpon Turtle. It's right there in Palm Harbor, Lake Tarpon, right on the Tarpon Turtle and Tarpon Springs there, the restaurant. So we're going to have food and drinks provided, appetizers, great networking, and we're going to have some boat rides this time, Alex. Some boat rides over there at the Tarpon Turtle.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Anything that involves, crab cakes and getting on boats and hanging out with people, you can pretty much count me in. So,
there you go. Yeah, that's right. Some good social, social time, happy hour. It's at 6 o'clock on a Friday this time.
Nice.
Normally we do Thursday, so some people still have to work the Friday. So
fun Friday.
I was looking forward to Thursday Night Football.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Mix it up. That's right. So we got save the date, Friday, September 27th, 6 o'clock, over at the Tarpon Turtle in Tarpon Springs. That's our monthly gratitude party, and we hope to see you there. Come on out and join us. First drink is on, it's going to be on Joe Duffin, First American Home Warranty. So Joe is our drink sponsor for that as well. All right, a couple of hot listings, and we're going to jump into this content with Derek Kobel. We got a hot listing here at 221 Howard Drive. I love this listing. This is a $3 million listing from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. 5 bedrooms, 3 bath, 3463 square feet. This is 221 Howard Drive, Bel Air Beach. Beautiful property. You have gorgeous 3-island kitchen with Thermador appliances, saltwater pool, 100 feet of water frontage on a deep water access to the Gulf of Mexico. And you are just 1 block to beach access. Check out 221 Howard Drive, Bel Air Beach, Florida. Beautiful listing from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. Also, Archer Place. We got beautiful condos available up in Gainesville, Florida. You're just 1.5 miles from the University of Florida. 5 minutes to Shands Medical and Butler Plaza. Pre-construction pricing good now for a limited time only. 10% off retail. And starting in the 400s up to the 900s. Short-term rental approved. Great opportunity to own real estate right here in Tampa Bay. And my team and I have been going up to the Gator games and kind of pre-gaming there. And we have a trade show style booth set up, so we're talking to a lot of Gator fans, a lot of medical, a lot of folks, and these condos are selling. We're over 25% sold now, 92 units in Gainesville, Florida, 3101 Old Archer Road, Gainesville, Florida, and you can see all of our real estate listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Yeah, I'm racing like laughter, those saving our ass overseas.
All right, we got Derek Kobel in the house. Derek, welcome back in, sir.
It's great to be here, man, as always.
Awesome. Yes, good having you in. And let's start it off, man. Let's kick it off. When you think about Right Way PA, what are some of the biggest questions you get? What are some of the concerns? And sometimes people don't really understand what a PA does.
Yeah, they don't. I know we talk about in the beginning of every show, what a public adjuster is. And just think of it as, if you were to file your taxes, you hire a CPA. You have a professional to help you through that process. unfortunately, when it comes to insurance claims, we aren't taught how to file a claim. So you have the option of having your own private representative to advocate for you to ensure the insurance company is actually paying you what you're owed for your damages. So some questions that we get really are, some misconceptions actually are like what our fees are. A lot of people say, well, for you to come out and perform an inspection, how much does that cost? Public adjusters get paid based off of a contingency. So a typical fee for public adjusters in Florida is 20%. 20% is for any type of claim, any claim at all. Commercial, I don't like to charge 20% on commercial, but every PA is different. The 10% fee gets kicked in when there's a state of emergency. So when there's a named storm. So if it's a hurricane or a tropical storm like Debbie that just came through on August 4th and 5th, that was a 10%. So any claim filed under that hurricane, a public adjuster should not be charging you more than 10% for any of those losses.
Yeah. So you're a consumer advocate in a sense, in the areas of filing that claim, making sure the insurance company is not taking advantage of the consumer.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, insurance companies are a business, so their job is to mitigate loss, right? And how do they do that? By paying out on claims. So they want to try to minimize the payments. It's not a bad thing. It's a business. You know what I mean? So, but unfortunately that a lot of people do get underpaid and they get denied when they are wrongfully, those decisions are being wrongfully made, and the homeowner actually should be reimbursed for the damages they incurred, but they just don't know. People don't know. Right.
They don't know what they don't know, and then they accept a deal where they could have, fought back and pushed back a little bit and possibly gotten more money out of the claim.
Absolutely. I have a client right now. We just went to appraisal, and the insurance company paid him $4,300 for a roof replacement and interior damage. I'm thinking $4,300. That's not even going to cover half the roof.
Wow.
So then they came back to me and they said, hey, what we'll do is, because I invoked appraisal to get the process moved away from this current adjuster and get put into the hands of an adjuster who has full decision, or full authority, I should say. And this adjuster got back to me and said, hey, we'll settle the claim. We'll give you an extra $10,000.
Wow.
And I went back to the homeowner. I talked to the appraiser that the homeowner was going to use. Our estimate was about $50,000. The appraiser thought he can get at least $33,000. So I told the adjuster, we're not accepting this offer. We're going to move forward with appraisal. That's currently in the process, and we're just hoping for a fair settlement for the insured.
Wow.
But without that option, homeowners don't know they have the option for appraisal. They don't know what it is. So
right.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And you even had a case, too, where one of the insurance brokers had mentioned, oh, well, you can't hire a public adjuster, or they gave totally wrong information, right?
Yeah. There was a homeowner that called and wanted my services. I called him. I told him I can do an inspection for free. It doesn't cost him anything. I only get paid if the insurance company pays and you file a claim. And he called me back a few hours later and said, hey, my agent said that I'm not allowed to hire a public adjuster. And as soon as I heard that, I said, dude, I don't know if this guy's your friend or what he is, but he's not doing you a good service at all.
Right.
You have the option to fight the insurance company. A lot of people don't want to file claims. I have a client right now who doesn't want to file a claim for legit damage because they don't want the rates to go up.
Right.
Why have insurance?
They're worried of getting canceled, right?
Yeah, they're worried about getting canceled, their rates going up. Okay, then cancel your insurance. Why do you have insurance if you're not going to use it?
Yeah.
The point of insurance is to indemnify you, is to put you back to how you were before the loss, and people need to understand that.
We're talking with Derek Kobel here, Right Way Public Adjusting, rightwaypa.com on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Check out his Instagram as well, rightwaypa on Instagram. And Derek, a lot of times these storms are, especially in Florida this time of year, they're no-name storms. They're just an unnamed storm. But I've lost roof shingles during those storms, and unfortunately, it's like a $500 repair, so it's not something that I would claim, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, you see these no-name storms; they can cause damage too.
Absolutely, and that's why it is so important to have someone like myself in your back pocket, because after each storm, you realistically should be reevaluating your home. Because perfect example. Since Tropical Storm Debbie, we've had at least 4 or 5 major no-name storms. So now if you were to file a claim for damage that happened in the storm 2 days ago, the insurance company is going to say, we had a hurricane that came through a month ago. It's from the hurricane, so now your hurricane deductible applies, and you owe now 5 times the amount of your deductible. Well, the homeowner didn't notice the damage until after, and they had a storm 3 weeks after the hurricane, but the carrier is going to fight if you don't have that documentation. So it is a struggle when it comes to making sure that you document your property after every storm, even if it's a no-name storm, because if you notice missing shingles that are happening now, but they weren't there after the storm, yeah, the hurricane could have weakened your structure, but this is a storm that actually caused that damage and you noticed it, and that's when it's reported and should be should be covered under.
And is that where you see they try to argue a lot of times like it's a pre-existing
100%
issue, or maybe, and then that's where they're going to underpay out the claim?
Yeah, pre-existing. I have a client right now, I just got the call yesterday from the adjuster who said, hey, we didn't see any wind or hail damage to the roof, but there is interior. We're going to cover the interior damage, but it is under deductible, but there's no damage to the roof, so we're not covering it. So the only way they would cover the water damage is how did water get in the house? It came in from a wind-created opening. It had to have. How else would the water have gotten in? But the carrier says it's rather poor workmanship or wear and tear. The roof is just old, and there's not damage up there, so they'll cover the interior damages, but it's under deductible, so they get $0.
Wow.
So now we have to, since they're denying that portion, they won't agree, we have to get attorneys involved, and unfortunately, it's just going to delay the claims process further for the insured.
Wow, it's interesting. You know, when you look at the condo situation in Florida, that's one of the areas in Florida real estate that's really challenging right now is condos. You know, the condo inventory is rising. The days on market are up, and condos are in a particular tough spot right now because of some of those issues kind of relating to or predicate of the Surfside collapse. So have you seen, some of those special circumstances or challenges in the condo market as well?
So in the condo market, what I'm seeing a lot of, especially with these floods, is units are getting flooded out from these rains and floods that we're having, or units are having I have a couple commercial clients right now that I'm dealing with where the individual unit owners feel that it is the association's responsibility to repair all the units if it's their fault. So, for example, they did construction. There was construction done outside of this condo building, and the homeowners are saying that the pavers were done incorrectly, so the water comes in. Ooh. So they didn't have insurance for their individual unit, but they think because of that, the HOA is responsible for any damage that occurs in their unit. That's not true.
Right.
Each individual unit owner is responsible. If you have condo insurance, it's an HO6 policy. You are responsible for pretty much the texture paint in and the flooring in, and then all your personal property. Anything from the drywall out is covered under the HOA or the condominium association. So some challenges that I'm facing most of is homeowners are getting damage inside their condo, but the claim isn't big enough for the drywall damage for the condo to file a claim. So now who's going to pay for that drywall? The condo should, but they're not going to file a claim because they may have a $6,000-$7,000 deductible, but the drywall damage is only, maybe a couple $1,000s. It's not worth them filing a claim. But the homeowner doesn't want to pay for that drywall because it's not their responsibility. So we see a lot of issues like that, and we have to try to overcome those obstacles.
Yeah, that's an interesting play. And I want to talk more about the commercial side when we come back. We're going to take a quick break and come back more with Derek Kobel, Right Way Public Adjusting here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon BRimes. Also, Feel Good Story of the Day. Every day we like to tell you something positive here on the show. And beekeeper finds grandfather's long-lost hives thriving in quarry and turns them into a colony of millions. Feel Good Story of the Day coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
Lindsay Rhymes here with Archer Place in Gainesville, Florida. Our luxury condo community is located only 1.5 miles from the University of Florida, 5 minutes to Shands Medical and Butler Plaza. Our buyers love the high-end luxury amenities in their building, including a state-of-the-art fitness facility equipped with Pelotons, the resort-style temperature-controlled pool accompanied with cabanas and grills, and the gourmet chef's kitchen in our clubhouse that overlooks the pool. We have pre-construction pricing only for a limited time, with floor plans ranging from a 1-bedroom, 1-bath to 2-floor penthouses with plunge pools. Starting in the low 400,000s to the high 900s, investors, parents sending their young adults off to school, medical professionals, business owners, and entrepreneurs alike are investing in these residences. Reach out to us today at 727-263-3707 to get more information.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. We're powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, always helping you sell faster for more money, maximizing the exposure on the sale of your real estate properties. We got a property at 3615 C. Robin Drive. This is southeast in St. Petersburg. C. Robin is a great opportunity here in Tampa Bay. Renovated home, remodeled single-family home, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 1,485 square feet, 3615 C. Robin Drive, southeast. St. Petersburg, Florida. Lots of updates, lots of upgrades. You're close to downtown St. Pete. You're also close to the beaches here. The community has great amenities as well. You have a park with a playground. You got fenced-in dog parks along the water there, soccer field, scenic walking trail, dock, and pickleball courts. Check out C. Robin Drive, southeast in St. Petersburg. Great opportunity to buy real estate here in Tampa Bay. 12377 Seagate Street. Seagate Street is a new listing that we have here in Spring Hill, Florida. 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2-car garage, 1,608 square foot single-family home. You got recent upgrades here as well. Private pool, screened-in pool as well. Nice curb appeal in a lighter color kitchen. 15 minutes to public boat ramp, so you're close to direct access to the Gulf of Mexico there. In-ground pool, great opportunity to buy real estate. You can see all of our real estate listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. All right, quick shout out to our friends at Heights Soft Wash, pressure washing company here in Tampa Bay. They do a great job with the soft wash here. They just did a great job cleaning our home. HeightsSoftWash.com. You can check them out online. HeightsSoftWash.com. Make sure you let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. Take them up on those special offers and incentives just by mentioning that you're a fan of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, we're talking with Derek Kobel in studio here. We're talking about Right Way Public Adjusting, rightwaypa.com. So I was talking a little bit about the commercial side. What's kind of the theme there in the commercial space? What do you see with that?
Really just honestly, the big issue, not even issue, but the big thing that I see with commercial properties is just communication between the board and all the unit owners. Because when you have an insurance claim, what a lot of people do is they combine the construction project to the insurance claim. And, I was always taught this by former public adjusters, and it makes total sense that when you're going through the claims process, we're working the claim as if you're going to get paid based off of what your policy says. Not how a contractor can fix something, right? So now once you have that money and you know what you received, then you know what to spend and how to budget that money and pay the contractor.
Okay.
When it comes to commercial buildings and when there's damage to the building and interior units, so many people have their own contractors. They have their own vendors. The board has their own people. Some people want to start repairs right away. And that becomes definitely when it comes to handling claims, if you are a board member, highly recommend that you find a way to have good communication in the event that there's a disaster, because there's a lot of miscommunication and a lot of tenants or owners that are not being informed of what's going on. So I've tried to create ways to do like email change and include everybody, but that becomes a headache. And also when it comes to commercial claims, something I want to bring up that's come up a lot is a lot of commercial policies are falling under Lloyd's of London, which I'm sure you've heard of. Yep. And that they're overseas. They're in London. They don't have offices here in the United States. So they use agents and third-party companies to manage and handle those claims. So commercial claims take longer because these agents they have set in the United States don't have authority to settle anything or make any decisions. So they have to report back to Lloyd's, and that takes the communication to go back from overseas to here it could take weeks to even get a decision. So commercial claims are very complex. They could take a while, and there's reasons for it, but we're definitely here to help them out.
Yeah, it's interesting. I drive on Tampa Road a lot, coming from Palm Harbor over to the radio station, and that restaurant burned down or it burnt, and then they tore it down. They demolished it. The Cody's over there. So I noticed that it kind of sat in that stagnant state for so long. And I was just wondering, wow, these commercial properties, that's a lot of money just sitting there missing the income potential.
But also there's coverage for that. So now that's different. A fire should be way different than a regular hurricane or wind damage, because now they're going to send out engineers and try to prove that water coming in is not from wind damage. Fires, you can't say that didn't happen. It happened. Now they could try to argue, did someone set it on fire, because that's not covered? Is it arson?
Right.
But for the most part, restaurant fires, those are pretty legit and should be covered. So I'm surprised the fire claim would take that long. Those are usually pretty quick.
Yeah, that's interesting to see how and those fire investigators, man, they can figure out almost to a science where that started, how it started, can't they?
It's interesting. Yeah, absolutely. They're very good. And even when I was a firefighter, we learned about the different patterns, and when a fire starts, how to look at all the patterns of the soot and, to find the source of the fire. And you can see the marks as you're inside of a home and the fire's out and you're just looking around. You can see all the evidence to show where that fire started. So it's pretty crazy to see how these investigators can pinpoint exactly, and it's incredible.
Yeah, speaking of that, remind me to talk to you off air. My cousin invented a updated version of a smoke detector, so I'll talk to you about that.
I thought about that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, he's got a really cool invention. I can't remember if I talked to you about it yet, but I'll talk to you about it after the show. So we're talking with Derek Kobel here, Right Way Public Adjusting on the Consumer Quarterback Show. RightWayPA.com is where you can find him. Also on Instagram, he does a lot of social media, great social media as well. People should follow you online as well to get some of these tips. You're putting out like daily content, daily tips.
Yeah, on Facebook, just Derek Kobel. Then Instagram, it's Derek Kobel, all one word. And I'm constantly putting out tips.
And the correct spelling is Kobel.
Yes, sir.
So Derek Kobel.
Derek.
Derek. Yep. So check him out online. He's putting out a lot of great content. And kind of going into our final thoughts here, what did we not get to today? What do you
think? Just something that you brought up with the fire and losing money on business. I just want to also bring up that commercial business policies should have loss of use, loss of income, or loss of business interruption is what they call it. So if the company is losing business because of a covered loss, they just have to provide documentation to prove what they typically have been getting the last few months. And then as the business is closed, they should be reimbursed for that amount up to whatever the limit is.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. So that's a great coverage.
There's a lot of different coverages within a policy. It's just every policy is different. So we'll be happy to do a free review if anyone needs it.
There's so many different things when you think about insurance. And we talked to Jason Mears with Florida Best Quote as our expert contributor for the show. But there's so many things that people need to consider with their insurance policies as well.
100%.
There's the risk of or the duty to preserve, right? So if you have a roof leak, roof damage, you're supposed to, and most policies you have to put a tarp over it, right? You got to do your job to minimize that damage.
Absolutely. You got to mitigate. Yeah, you have to mitigate your loss. And a lot of people don't know that that's in the policy. So guys like Jason are great because they actually communicate those to their clients and their insureds, and they let them know, hey, when you have this policy, and he actually reviews it with them, which is great. A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
And like you said, with the policy, people just need to know what's in your policy, and most people don't. So
that's great.
We're here to go through it and make sure that you guys are properly covered.
I love it. Final, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, so phone number is 561-951-7968. Derek Kobel.
561, say it one more time.
561-951-7968.
All right, get them online as well. Instagram.com, RightWayPA. Derek Kobel, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. All right, we're going to be talking with Jennie Restrepo coming up here in just a moment. Jennie's our next guest, plus our feel-good story of the day. Beekeeper finds grandfather's long-lost hives thriving in quarry and turns them into a colony of millions. Feel good story coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Follow us online. We'd love to connect with you at BrandonRimes1 at CQB Show. And please subscribe to the channels, Rumble and YouTube. We'll be right back here. Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Always helping you win in any marketplace. That's our goal. And for sellers, we're featuring our listings live on air, maximizing the exposure and the profit on the sale of our real estate listings. We got Jennie Restrepo in studio with us, Insured Title Agency in the house. We're going to be talking with her about leasing, tenants' rights, and also foreclosure actions coming up on the show here as well. Quick shout out to Brio Tuscan Grill, the official restaurant partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. That's Brio Tuscan Grill right here at the International Mall. And we love going over there. Great ambiance, excellent food, delicious food. Chef Oscar and the team, they do such an amazing job back there. And also a great ambiance. We host parties there from time to time. This month's party is on the 27th over at Tarpon Springs, the Tarpon Turtle, however. But we're going to be having fun over at Brio as well coming up. Probably next month, I'm thinking, Alex, we might be hitting up Brio again, taking it back to Tampa.
Sold, man.
Mixing it up.
I love my people over at Brio.
We got Hillsborough peeps, we got Pinellas peeps. We got to try to balance them out a little bit, you know.
That's it. Area codes.
That's
we got
right.
Peeps in all different area codes.
That's right.
Well,
yes.
That's our Realtor Association. It now encompasses the Tri-County area.
That's right. Yeah. So we're talking Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco.
Yes, parts of Pasco.
Parts of Pasco. All right. Awesome. Good stuff. Before we do, let's talk about a couple of hot listings here. We got a listing at 719 7th Street North. This one's in St. Petersburg. Beautiful property. We just did a price improvement here. The seller's motivated. We've got 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. You got a bonus room as well. 1,300 square foot single family home. Lots of updates and upgrades here. You got real wood floors, high ceilings, stunning fireplace, electrical updates in 2022. 719 7th Street North, St. Petersburg. Great location. You're close to downtown. You're close to the beaches there as well. And you have easy access to the downtown Looper Trolley and Sunrunner Rapid Transit. So check out that listing, 719 7th Street North, St. Petersburg. Recently improved price, and owner is motivated. 15435 Southwest 33rd Street in Ocala. This is a unique property. You've got 5 acres of land here. You have a property. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that's 75% completed. You have a solid frame with a durable metal roof. And what's interesting here is we kind of call these sometimes fractured projects in the business. It started to be built, was due to complete, but the owner just didn't quite get it done. 75% complete home here. Great investment opportunity. 5 acres of land in Ocala, Florida. Beautiful property. You're just 12 minutes from downtown Ocala. Beautiful property. Ideal for horse enthusiast as well. So if you like to go horseback riding or maybe have that agricultural theme, you can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right, Jennie Restrepo back in studio with us. Welcome back in, Jennie.
Thanks for having me again.
All right, my pleasure. All right, so yeah, we're going to have fun next week. We're going to be teaching a class, and you come in and talk a little bit about title and your lunch sponsor for that. That's going to be on the 19th. We're teaching Win with Sellers over at the Pinellas Realtor Organization, and I loved, the education side of real estate giving back.
Absolutely. I mean, Brandon, he has amazing knowledge and experiences, but he doesn't hoard it just to himself, and he's out there teaching and sharing with our realtor community so that everybody can be operating at the same level and giving their clients the best. So if you want to win with sellers, come to Pinellas Realtor Organization. You can go to those calendars to get registered. Seats are limited, but we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, we'd love to see you there. And let's talk a little bit about the title side. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about leasing and then foreclosure activity.
Yes.
Sometimes foreclosures happen and there's a tenant in place. What kind of rights does that tenant have?
Well, what's interesting about that is the rights that the tenant has are the ones afforded by their individual lease contract.
Okay.
And so the reason I bring this around to title is I got a call from a real estate agent, and the situation is her mother is currently renting a property, but they were trying to be served with something. It turns out that what she was being served with was Liz Pendens.
Mm-hmm.
So Liz Pendens is the first legal action in a foreclosure. So if somebody wants to foreclose, which could be the mortgage company, it could be code enforcement, it could be a tax lien, it could be your homeowners association, they can initiate a foreclosure proceeding with the court. And step number 1 is filing the Liz Pendens, which is the notice of a potential foreclosure. And every party that's associated with that property will get served. So now her mother is not a party necessarily to this foreclosure action because she's simply a tenant, an occupant of the property, but doesn't have an ownership stake in the property. However, she's paying to live there But whatever is happening on the other side is now putting her ability to continue living there in jeopardy. So a lis pendens doesn't mean that you're now evicted or that you have to leave in 30 days or 3 days or anything like that. But it does mean that this process is going to happen. How long that will take, it honestly depends.
Yeah, there's a lot of variations there depending on the loan type, depending on just a lot of variables.
Yes.
There's a plethora of variables and situations that could happen. So that's an interesting play because we especially saw that back in 08, 09 when the mortgage meltdown happened.
Yes.
And you had that, that kind of irrational lending that was happening. But yeah, there were a lot of these. And then you had these overnight, these fly-by-night kind of loan modification companies saying, hey, pay us your payment instead, and we'll fight the banks, and we'll have our attorney send off these letters. It got really confusing for tenants.
It really did. And especially when the real estate market crashed, there were auctions and titles that were being sold off for debts. And you can actually, so you could, if you hold property, let's say you buy one of Brandon's amazing listings, you then close with Insured Title Agency in a what we call an arm's length transaction, so a traditional transaction where an individual seller is selling to an individual buyer. Then typically what is offered is called a general warranty deed. Okay, so what that means is the deed comes with warranties and guarantees from the seller, that the seller has represented the situation honestly and truthfully, and that the title company has done a full research of the title to ensure that when you are now buying, you are getting all of the ownership rights for this property free and clear of any debts, liens, or clouds on title.
Yep.
And then that's what your general warranty deed affords you. There's also a special warranty deed, which means some things are not warranted and they're leaving out. Or our favorite, the quit claim deed, typically handled with parties that personally know each other or family, where one person essentially says, I am quitting my ownership rights of this property and transferring them to you, but there are no warranties or guarantees in this transaction. So in those situations, that's where we see a lot of mess. Now, when the real estate market crashed, there was a certificate of title. A certificate of title is like, here, now your name is on this, but if there are liens or judgments or foreclosures or any of those things, they are not cleared. But you technically own it.
Right.
So back then, people were going to these auctions. They were getting certificate of title knowing that it was probably eventually going to also be foreclosed on, but they didn't care. All they wanted was to put someone in the property in the in-between time.
Yep.
So between obtaining the certificate of title and it actually getting foreclosed on, they were renting to these tenants that had no idea that that was the circumstance.
Yeah.
And then when it went into foreclosure, they paid pennies on the dollar for the property anyway. They got the money back in the rents, and they're like, oh, well.
Yeah, exactly.
And no concern for the tenant in any way. So obviously, landlords have rights, tenants have rights, but just like with a purchase contract, what your lease says is the agreement that you've made.
Right.
So you need to make sure you understand what your lease says.
Yeah. Any questions on that, reach out to the hotline. We'd love to talk to you. 727-263-3707. You can call or text that hotline. It's an off-air number, 727-263-3707. Also online at consumerqb.com. Of course, we'll answer all your questions here. You can submit an email form through the website as well. I'm Brandon BRimes. We're talking with Jennie Restrepo here, Insured Title Agency. And Jennie, we're seeing a record number of scams these days, yes. Whether it's online, via text messaging. There's so many different ways these perpetrators, these unscrupulous jerks, try to screw people. And I was looking at I do a lot of calls on the expired and canceled listings, right?
Yes.
So I was talking to a client. She's going to be signing up with me today, but I said, no problem. She says, hey, I got a cash offer. It sounds like something I might want to do because I got to close fast. I just want to get this deal done. I said, no problem. Send it over to me. So she screenshotted a couple of images to me. And first of all, it's a non-standard agreement. Normally in the state of Florida, we have FAR bar and the Florida bar that has, hey, here's a as-is contract for a purchase or sale.
Right. So the difference with the state of Florida and some of the other states is that the Florida Realtors and the Florida Bar Association got together and made us standardized contracts.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. So number one, red flag number one, it's this random contract. And I don't know why it was showing up like this, but it was like no spacing between the words. It was really tough to read. But when you looked at the terms, it had a price on there. It had a deposit, but it said seller will finance. So she didn't even realize that it was a seller finance deal.
Right.
And then secondly, there's paragraphs down below that say buyer may put this property on MLS. So right away, there you go. That's the game. He's going to try to tie the property up.
Subject to or a bird dog deal or something.
Yep, exactly. And he's going to put it on the MLS and then find an in buyer. He's never going to close on it. He's looking for someone to buy it just for a little bit more, 5, 10, 15, 20 grand, because this was a small condo. And so anyways, my point is there's a lot of these types of deals floating out there, these unscrupulous buyers and so-called buyers that aren't really buyers. And then there's so many other scams. What other scams are prevalent that you're seeing at Insured Title Agency?
Well, the oldies but goodies.
Yeah.
We're still going with the wire fraud. We recently had mail out of our mailbox stolen and check washed. Wow. So if anybody's not familiar what check washing is, it's taking an actual rightful check and essentially washing the ink off and rewriting the check to a different amount and a different intended person. Wow. But our title company has many safety and security features, especially when it comes to our money and our escrow accounts. And so we have two-factor authentication, which none of those checks were ever going to clear. But there was an attempt, and these were physically taken out of the mailbox in our complex. Wow. So now if we've got regular mail, we are taking it to the post office directly.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, you should assume that it's fraud until you've been proven that it's not.
Right.
And use your spidey sense. If something seems off or wrong, then trust your gut. But I know the biggest thing that's coming out in the media right now is, why use a realtor? I don't need a realtor. I can buy and sell my property without a realtor. And the answer to that question is, yes, you can. But I've made this equivalency. If I got a pair of scissors, could I cut my own bangs?
There you go.
Yes. Should I? No.
Right.
Ladies know what I'm talking about. So just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And so the value of what does a realtor do for me? What does a realtor bring to this transaction that I can't do for myself? Well, Brandon's example, this woman thought she had a cash offer. She doesn't have a cash offer, but she doesn't know that. And we're not expecting you to become contract experts.
Yep.
That's why you should work with one. And the same thing about, what else does a realtor bring to the transaction? Do you know what Liz Pendens is? Do you know that you're dealing with the rightful seller or buyer? Do you know that there was a gentleman that another colleague received a call saying that he wanted to list his property. It was a completely fraudulent person.
Right.
And we have member benefits through Florida Realtors and our local board that help us ensure that we're dealing with the correct person, track down the correct person if we're not talking to them. And so all of those layers and things that we have access to as realtors is the benefit to you if you're working with a realtor.
Yep.
It's their expertise. It's their awareness of all of this fraud. It's knowing what the red flags are and having access to partners like Insured Title Agency that go above and beyond to bust fraud and look out for consumer interests.
Yep.
So yes, you can do your own quit claim deed and make a big old mess of stuff. Absolutely. And if that's how you're going to go for it, then go for it. But I highly recommend if you're in any of these situations, whether you're a tenant, a landlord, looking at a contract, please call the show because you want that expert level of information on your transaction. And there is a reason to work with a realtor. Those are just a few.
Yeah, and there's actually studies also that show, NAR does studies showing that the first sale by owners, I forgot what percentages it is, but when they do close, they close for less money than they could have sold for in many cases. We're going to take a quick break there, and we're going to come back more with Jennie Restrepo, Insured Title Agency on the Consumer Quarterback Show, plus our feel-good story of the day. Beekeeper finds grandfather's long-lost hives thriving in a quarry and turns them into colony of millions. We'll be right back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, online at consumerqb.com.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Hey, Brandon BRimes here for AmericaFirstPatriotStore.com. My wife and I shifted a lot of our buying habits, and we wanted to support companies that support our values. Patriotic, Christian, conservative companies. And you can find that online at AmericaFirstPatriotStore.com. Now, what you're doing is you're not spending any new money. You're simply buying a lot of the common purchases that you're buying every month for the kitchen, the bathroom, your shampoos, your laundry detergent, all types of great essential oils, vitamins, herbs, those types of products. And for you beef lovers, we have great beef products as well. Tenderloin, sirloin steaks, grass-fed beef available as well. So check out AmericaFirstPatriotStore.com. And I'd love to talk to you if you have any questions about it. There's also a business opportunity there for you as well. 813-917-1894. And thank you so much for supporting our company, AmericaFirstPatriotStore.com. By simply shifting some of your buying habits, you're going to help support like-minded people, like-minded companies, and that can support you as well.
Lindsay Rhymes here. My husband Brandon and I own the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams, and our team of seasoned agents is ready to help you buy, sell, invest, and love the life you live here in Tampa Bay. Communication, execution, customer service, and bulletproofing transactions are really where our team shines. We service Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties, and we have seasoned agents in residential, luxury land, and commercial divisions. Reach out to us, your Christian realtors, and let us help empower you with the right knowledge to make smart decisions with your next transaction. Call us at 727-263-3707 today. Again, that number is 727-263-3707.
Selling commercial, vacant land, or residential properties? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon BRimes. You can reach me at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon BRimes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, Brandon BRimes here in studio with Jennie Restrepo. Couple of hot listings, and then our feel-good story of the day. We got a property at 10413 Main Street in Thonotosassa. This one is a great opportunity to buy real estate. This one's 3.63 acres of vacant land, commercial land in the bustling city of Thonotosassa. You're right across the street from a busy gas station, and you're just a stone's throw away from all that Tampa has to offer there. Check out 10413 Main Street, Thonotosassa. Vacant land, buy some dirt, and build. 5402 West US Highway 92, Plant City. We got a bar for sale. This one's out in Plant City, commercial property. Have you ever thought of owning your own bar? This one's really cool because you have a COP license. Now, that license is a liquor license that's going to give you the ability to sell through the window or even package people walking in, package liquor, and you can host events at off-site locations. So you could have a liquor license that you can utilize for special events. 5402 West US Highway 92 in Plant City. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. All right, feel good story of the day. Scottish beekeeper Ross Main recently discovered his grandfather's long-lost hives in a quarry after they had been presumed sold or lost for 14 years. Inspired by his childhood memories of tending bees with his grandfather, William Main, Ross decided to take up beekeeping. The hives had survived independently for years, and Ross learned the beekeeping by watching YouTube videos. He grew the colony from a single hive he found into 100 colonies, housing around 5 million bees. In 2021, Ross established his business, Main's Apiaries, selling honey and offering beekeeping experiences. He also maintains hives for corporate clients, promoting local biodiversity and ecosystems health. Ross's passion stems from his magical experience with his grandfather shared with him, which he hopes to pass on to others. And there you have it, our feel-good story of the day. And we're talking with Jennie Restrepo here in studio with us. And when we talk about real estate, there's of course a lot of scams, a lot of these different challenging situations. One of the biggest areas of fraud is vacant land, because it's an easier asset class to perpetrate these frauds on.
Yes, so vacant land, obviously there's not a house, there's not a person that's necessarily living there. You don't need to get an inspection done. So the thievery of a vacant land, to be able to list it for sale, is a lower threshold. And then these fraudsters are getting better and better and better at it and perpetrating themselves as the rightful sellers. Ultimately, I guess, coming up with fake IDs, setting up fake bank accounts.
Yep.
And worst case scenario is that this property does sell and close, because if you're buying vacant land, for the most part, your intention is probably to build something on it. I want you to look closely at your deed. What you see on your deed is a description of the land, not the domicile. So if you don't own that land, the domicile that's on it that you can't lift up and take somewhere else is now also in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So especially if you're buying vacant land in the state of Florida, I highly advise using a realtor, making sure that realtor is working with a reputable title company that does all of the checks and the cross checks and the balances, because worst case scenario is you close on this property, you build the house of your dreams on it, and then you find out that it was obtained through fraud, through no awareness of yourself, but here we all are. And if you haven't updated your title policy to the value of the home versus the value of the land, you're only insured up to the price that you paid for the land.
Right. Talk a little bit about portability as well, or registering your homestead as well, because it's almost that time of year.
Yes. Okay. So registering your property as your homesteaded property, that pertains to your property tax liability. The deadline to do that is March 1st for purchases within this year. So if you purchase a primary residence here in the year 2024, you'll have until March 1st of 2025 to register it as your primary residence and get your homestead exemption, which lowers your property tax bill. Very important. Now, if you're selling a primary residence to purchase a new primary residence, then what Brandon mentioned is portability. You are able to port your homestead exemption from your existing property to your new property, and that is very important because it has a big reduction in your overall tax liability when you get that new tax bill for the new property. And so if either one of those things sound like I'm speaking a foreign language, of course, call the show or contact your local property appraiser's office to have them walk you through how to do that. And for all of our veteran listeners out there, veterans in certain situations are entitled to 100% forgiveness of property taxes. Okay, so if you are one of our service members that's listening to the show, you need to make sure that you have also added that so you get your full homestead exemption.
That's right. That's right. Good stuff. Jennie Restrepo, insured-title.com. Check her out online, insured-title.com. Also on Instagram as well. And thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We had Derek Kobel as well on the front end of the show. Alex BlackBelt Lima, always in the co-seat. And, of course, Jennie Restrepo here. So we appreciate you spending some time with us. Please support the show, support the local economy. And we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. And we'll see you next time here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Make sure you follow us online at Brandon Rhymes1 at CQB Show. And go out there and do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. We'll see you next time. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.